Just close your eyes. Know the peace within.
Beloved GM, around the world, many people practice meditation where they close their eyes for hours. Why aren't they all awakened? Do they connect to their conscious state in the wrong way?
You are closing your eyes only to know the unmoving reality within. With eyes open, you are constantly identifying each and every object in space, each and every movement in space to be real, to be real. So you are unable to know the unmoving reality beyond space. Reality is beyond space. With the eyes open, you cannot know the reality which is beyond space. With eyes open, you can only identify the objects in space, whereas the reality is beyond objects, beyond movements, beyond appearances and disappearances, beyond space and beyond duality. Every meditation is only to know the unmoving reality beyond space. That's why in meditation you are closing your eyes and start knowing the stillness within. And this stillness is just the beginning of consciousness. It is not final. And your consciousness starts knowing the unmoving state within, the non-dual state within, prior to the duality. With eyes open, you identify only the object level duality to be the only reality. Only by closing eyes, you remain free from the duality, you remain free from identifications, and you are able to know the state which is already prior to the observed duality show and which is never moving, never changing. So meditation is only to know the unmoving reality within. And you are asking why it is unable to realize the original state in spite of meditating. And I tell you, meditation is not time-based. Meditation is knowing the timelessness, the timeless reality within you. Only by closing eyes, you come to know the unmoving state. And in the unmoving state, you start knowing the timeless state. Time is calculated in terms of movements. When there is no movement, there is no time also. That's why in the unmoving reality, only timeless factor is known. And you close your eyes in meditation and start knowing the stillness. Okay, fine. What happens to you once your eyes are open? Once your eyes are open, you again start identifying the objects through knowledge, through memory, and you are unable to stay beyond words. Your reality is beyond words. And you are able to stay beyond words only by closing eyes. The moment your eyes are open, you are unable to stay beyond words. That's why you find difficult to know the conscious state within you. It is only consciousness which is in need of realizing its original state. Unknowingly, it accepts the form to be itself, and by accepting the form to be itself, it is unable to be conscious of itself. So only by closing eyes, your consciousness comes to know its unmoving conscious state inwardly. And who is the observer of the stillness within just now? And you are that. You are more than the stillness. And the stillness is just the beginning of your conscious state. You are the source of consciousness. By closing eyes, initially you come to know the unmoving stillness. That is not final. That is only the beginning of wakefulness. But you never remain wakeful when eyes are open. When eyes are open, you are immediately trapped by the duality show through words and identifications and unable to get back to your unmoving reality in stillness. The meditation is not time based or object based, it is knowing your conscious state. Every meditation is only to know your conscious state, which is unmoving and unchanging. First you get to know the stillness within, and then even with eyes open, know the stillness within. And by closing eyes, you know how to observe silently, because inwardly in stillness no objects to identify with. Similarly, once you know to observe silently by closing eyes, the same way, know to observe silently even when eyes are open. When you know to observe silently, when eyes are open, you are settling in your conscious state. You are not moving from the conscious state, and you only observe from the non-dual state. You are settling in your non-dual state and you only observe from the non-dual state. So nothing affects you. And only when you settle in the non-dual state, you remain wakeful, because that is your original state. But when eyes are open, immediately you are trapped by the duality show, as if everything is real. So you are unable to know your conscious state. So only by knowing the conscious state inwardly, your consciousness remains wakeful. And only when your consciousness remains wakeful, it wakes up totally to realize the ultimate reality. You are asking why it is not possible, though meditation is constantly done by many, why it is difficult to realize the truth. I tell you, you are already the truth. You are the only truth, and there is no truth higher than you. Just by not knowing how to observe silently, you are unable to settle in your non-dual state. The moment you know to observe silently, you are settling in the non-dual state. The more and more you settle inwardly in the non-dual state, the more and more wakefulness. The more and more wakefulness at the non-dual state, one day you wake up totally and realize you are beginningless non-dual reality and endless non-dual reality and your deathless non-dual reality, that you are already that and always that. So only when you know to observe silently, beyond words, beyond identification, you are able to settle in your non-dual state to realize your ultimate reality. Meditation is not only to know the conscious state within you, it makes you peaceful and it helps you to be conscious of yourself. And provided you know how to observe silently, you remain wakeful to realize where you are and what you are. And realization is only at the conscious level. Only at the conscious level you can realize your original state. By accepting yourself to be a person in space, you are unable to know the conscious state. By not knowing the conscious state, you are unable to know the non-dual reality. So you cannot give any reason why you are unable to realize in spite of meditation. And I tell you, you are already free from the duality show, and you only observe from the non-dual level. Once you start knowing the stillness which is non-dual, you also know to observe from the non-dual state. The more and more you observe from the non-dual state, beyond words, beyond identifications, you wake up totally and come to know that whatever observed were only a dream state, and you, the observer, prevail eternally, endlessly. So unless you know to observe silently, wakefulness is not possible. Without wakefulness, realization is not possible. At least now, know the importance of knowing your conscious state by closing eyes and knowing the stillness inwardly. And know to observe silently even when eyes are open. That's all. Once you settle in your original state, not deviating from the original state through identifications, you remain wakeful constantly. Through constant wakefulness, you wake up totally. It is such a simple thing. Of course, realization is the most simple thing, provided you are conscious of your presence. And to know your conscious presence is also a very simple thing only, provided you give preference to yourself. So by giving preference to yourself, by settling inwardly, and by knowing the conscious state inwardly, you remain wakeful, and in wakefulness you realize that you are the eternal truth. It's better not to miss the truth within you. Settle inwardly, observe silently, and wake up totally, to realize that you are already that and always that. Never miss to wake up to realize the original state where you are already and always.